Dolce Show.
Cause you can, you won't, and you don't stop. Cause you can, you won't, and you don't stop. Oh, when you can, you won't, and you don't stop. Mike D coming out for sure.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. I got my buddy, the legend, Chase Cichos, on the show. One of the top strength coaches in the world with a specialty inside combat sports, working with some of the UFC's greatest athletes, main eventers, 10 main event fights and counting, right?
Yeah, something at least.
Dude, you lose track after a while, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes it becomes old hat in a way. It's like maybe a heart surgeon. You do your first quadruple bypass, you save someone's life, you probably want to go home and tell everyone about it. And all of a sudden, all you're doing is quadruple bypasses. You're like, dude, what's on TV later on today? You kind of like, it normalizes that level of operation.
100%. But I will say this, not that I never embraced every single one of those moments. I'm just extra conscious now of like, maybe one day this won't be the thing. So let me embrace every single one of these moments, which is why I just got back from Serbia last week. I went to Serbia because one of my guys was headlining the card there.
Yeah.
And also, like, you get to go see a place that you've never been before and get to travel. Because, man, when you start out in this game, at least for myself, when I started out in this game, I used to love going on the travel with all these guys and doing all that stuff because it was my, I was young in the game. I was excited about it. But then I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm spending all the money that I make on these camps, on these trips. And so I don't take as many. But this one I think was special because the guy was from Serbia, first ever UFC in Serbia. He's the main event. And I was like, you know what? Like, this opportunity may never come again. Let me take it. So I never take those moments for granted. Although, like, man, over the years, you do lose count of how many main events if you've been in this game long enough and you're blessed enough to get to work with the level of fighters that I get to work with. So I never take those moments for granted, even though I haven't counted in a while. I'm not trying to keep score on those things.
Yeah. Man, before the show started, Chase and I were talking about, the journey a little bit, the behind the scenes of what we do. And for everybody listening right now, we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit for you guys and give you some inside baseball, as they say. But I would suggest that every so often, Chase, take some time and write that stuff down so it sits somewhere and you have a working file of all these great events, because they are so beautiful and so pure and they are literally historic. But you're going to wake up tomorrow and there's another fighter, another camp, another gig, and that stuff gets diluted over time. It doesn't make it any less pure, but that memory can fade a little bit. So I would say if I could go back in time, I was pretty good, but I would have been more diligent in really journaling some of that, just categorizing it a little bit more, even just saving some of the photos in one place. That gets hard. I'm chasing like Sherdog and MMA Junkie, and I'm trying to like, what fight card was, and trying to like grab some photos or like a training camp. You got 5 different phones years ago compared to what you have now. So, and it's all, it's part of your story, not just their story. It's part of your story.
Yeah, no, 100%. I on this trip in particular. So, man, let me just say this first before I get to that part. So when I first started in this game, I used to want to hold a lot of that stuff close, like pictures and information that I thought we were, keeping secrets. I was like, I don't want to talk about any of this stuff. But within the last year or so, I've kind of flipped the switch in my mind where I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to share my experiences. I'm going to share my knowledge. I'm going to share what we're doing. And just because I'm doing that doesn't mean I give everybody, like, you can know the ingredients to make a pizza, but doesn't mean you can make a good pizza. And because even my athletes are like, bro, are you sharing too much? All these big names are now following me in like the MMA game.
Yeah.
Some guys that potentially we may fight, and they're like, bro, are you sharing too much? And I'm like, listen, bro, I give them a small clip, and at the end of the day, I'm not giving them all the ingredients. And if even if I do give them all the ingredients, doesn't mean they can bake the same pizza that I can. You know what I mean? So I am trying to share my experiences and the knowledge, the things that I've accumulated, the things that have worked and the things that have not worked for us over the years. I've been very mindful. I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about more of this stuff because, you know, and I'm not being a hater when I say this. There's a lot of guys on social media and stuff that, you know, they might have big followings, but they've never done anything. They've never worked with nobody. They just don't have the real life experience. But here they are making a good living, and you know, salute to them for doing that. They figured it out. They got it down. But here I am, you know, with a small fraction of the following, and you know, only making money inside the gym instead of like money off things that I've accumulated over the years and my experiences. And the only way for me to do that is to like share my knowledge and experience with people and provide value. So I've been very since like December. I was like flip the switch. I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about this stuff more. I'm going to become an authority in the industry because at the end of the day, if I want to raise the bar in the industry, I'm going to have to talk about these things. So I've been very diligent on like, you know what, let's do this and share with people and you know, people have been responding. I've been growing a bigger following. You know, I've been sharing that experience with more people online. People are now asking me for coaching information online. Coaches are coming to me asking me for more things, and it just feels awesome, you know, to kind of like share my expertise, share my experience, and share my passion with other people. And you know, if they want to buy something from me, they can. If not, hey, I'm cool with just people following me and liking me and liking my stuff online. That's good enough for me. But
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, Alex Hormozy talks about something along those lines is you want to give away the system. Give it all away for free. There's no secret here. The more you share with your audience, the more they realize you know what you're talking about, the more they trust you, the more they can see your mastery of this topic. And then folks will hire you for the implementation of the service. Right. With my stuff, I mean, you could probably recite my stuff. Everybody listening could recite my stuff. I say the same fucking shit. All my haters, all my critics, all my quote competitors always say, Dolce doesn't say anything new. It's always the same shit with him. Exactly, motherfucker.
because it works.
The laws of gravity have not changed since Isaac Newton dropped the apple, right?
100%.
I'm not changing the laws. What I'm doing is I'm showing, well, here's how we implement that into your chaotic, crazy lifestyle. Given all of these variables, that's where 30 plus years of experience comes in. It's the implementation. So you have the science, and none of us own the science. For those of us with an open mind and we have set our ego to the side, we can actually figure out what actually works. You get paid. I get paid to produce results, not for my opinion. I get paid to get my athletes on weight, on time, every fucking time, and go fight their ass off for 25 minutes. When I order for the executive to lose 40 pounds, lowers blood pressure, get off statins, reclaim his life. That's what I get paid. That's what you get paid for. People don't give a fuck about our opinions. Does it work? And that's what you do. It's one of the reasons I love your content. I love following your page and what you do. I'm like, Chase tells the fucking truth. And I was going to do it a little later on in the show, but you bring it up now and it's worthwhile. There is a list of coaches in this industry that are full of shit. And maybe I'm being a little too aggressive here with my word, but all the stuff that they do is nonsense. I used to call back in the UFC embedded days when I was a part of those, I used to call it sexy training. They'd put on the parachutes and they'd be running through the fields in slow motion. I'm like, that nobody does that shit all, but you might throw it in here, for whatever, change it up. But that is not the meat and potatoes of getting an athlete ready for competition, right? I remember. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like when it comes to those embedded and stuff, though, like they sell the sexy stuff. Like some of the guys will ask you, to do those certain things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when they do the countdowns, it's like, oh, hey, but can you guys do this just for the video? It's like I would push back on them sometimes. I'm like, dude, that's not in our program. We ain't doing no extra. We're 3 weeks, 4 weeks out from a fight. Everything we're doing here has a purpose, and I don't give a shit about your guys' show, to be honest. Like that's my opinion. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's what I share with people on social media are the things that I actually do. I don't share anything with anybody where it's like, this is it. And I'm not doing that in real life. Like everything that I share, I've done it and it works, and I'm just giving you that. I'm not giving you like any other information on like hypotheticals or this and that. I'm telling you, I might tell you why some shit ain't gonna work. Like I see plenty of shit on social media where I'm like, you know what? I gotta speak up on that. And I feel that is my duty because listen, it's easy for an industry to get polluted. And in order to clean up the pollution, you have to take the trash out. There's no other way about it. And yeah, you can say, oh, let your ideas in the public and let the public decide. It's like, no, but also I have to show why these things are bad and why what I'm talking about is better. So I kind of feel a little bit of a duty. If you want to raise the standard of the industry, you have a little bit of and it's a duty to the people that are coming up in the industry to say, hey,
Yes.
avoid this shit. I've gone down these rabbit holes. I've done it. I fell victim to it, and it's almost embarrassing to say some of these things that I've done that I fell victim to. I won't even say victim. That's a shit word. But I fell down the rabbit holes of some of these things where I'm like, you know what? A couple months in, I'm like, man, the juice ain't worth the squeeze here. Let me go back to what we were doing, because I always end up kind of right back to where we go. You know that meme where it has the one guy at the beginning and he's like, you got to do this, and that, and then you have like the guy at the peak, and then it all ends up like the guy at the beginning. You know what I mean? The big peak.
Yes.
You know that meme? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, man. It's like, yeah, you go down these rabbit holes, and that's okay because I do have an open mind, because I don't think I have everything all figured out. I always want to learn new things. And if there's something out there that can benefit my guys, well, then I feel it's my duty to explore that and figure out what works and what does not work. So that's kind of like my method, my ideology and my methodology and how I get to my approach.
Well, let's pull back on this a little bit. And in your opinion, what is something that it is happening every day in MMA gyms that the fighters think is making them better, but in reality, it's making them worse?
Well, I would say the number one thing when it comes to that is like, I think all fighters, all combat sports athletes, they all believe that every session has to be crazy hard for them to get any better. And in my opinion, and based off the science of learning, I actually would say almost the opposite can be true. You're going to learn more when it's actually not crazy challenging or crazy hard. You're like when it's more play. You learn from challenge, right? Challenge and like a struggle. You learn from that. But as far as like, it has to be hard sparring for me to get any better every time. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions in combat sports, and like one of the biggest things that holds people back as far as reaching their potential and like learning to the best of their abilities, learning the skills the fastest. Learning skills fast is more about finding a point where you have a little bit of struggle, pulling back on it, trying to rethink what's going on in this position, and then applying it before it's maximal effort.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You learn more from games and play than you do from like life or death situation. Well, I can't say life or death situation, but I mean like the hard sparring, the survival situation where you're like, I just got to do my thing. You're not going to learn new skills like that. Gordon Ryan is the greatest jiu-jitsu athlete of all time, right? Gordon Ryan said he trained with purple belts to make sure he was going to get the amount of reps that he needed to at his techniques that he was working on at that time. I think that's the best way to go. That's why I also love like positional training or positional specific sparring, they will call it, right? Where you start on, maybe you start on the guys on your back and you have to just defend. Or I also like games in striking, like, we're only going to use the jab hand or the lead hand, or you're only going to use the left side of your body, whether that be kicks. You're only allowed to defend with one hand for this time. Now, in those situations, of course, you have to have a good partner that's not just trying to fucking clean your clock and knock you out in order for you to get better at that, because then it becomes like you go back to what you were already doing before. So yeah, I think just the idea of everything always has to be a crazy, hard, intense session for you to get better. I think this is one thing that hurts fighters more than anything else.
So fighters will notoriously drive themselves into the ground, to your point. Everything has to be hard all the time, but also their coaches, and in MMA, you have a boxing coach, you have a Muay Thai coach, you have a wrestling coach, you have a jiu-jitsu coach, you have a judo coach, like you have a sambo coach, you have all these other coaches, strength and conditioning coach, maybe you got a nutrition guy, you got a recovery, your stretch guy, you got a running coach. Some of these athletes, I mean, they have 5 coaches is probably the norm in the skill sets, upwards of 10, very easy, especially in the higher levels. So understanding that, where, in your opinion, does strength and conditioning fit in? And then if a fighter has, and let's say there's only about 10 training blocks in a week, right? Let's say you're doing 2-a-days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you back off a little Wednesday, maybe you do a little something on a Saturday, right? That's only 10 opportunities to get in and get a session done. These guys are, sometimes you're doing sparring 3 days a week, fucking terrible, but that's my opinion here. Where does the S&C coach fit into that? I'll just shut up and let you go.
Yeah. So I've been lucky enough to kind of form relationships with all of the coaches that kind of work with the fighters. It's kind of cool because a lot of my athletes actually have been, on the same team, but we all talk about these things, like, and in my opinion, strength conditioning is a very small piece to the puzzle. Skills pay the bills in this game. Now, is that to say that the physical attributes and the physical qualities of the athlete is not going to help enhance those skills? No, like it will. If I make you faster and you're able to cover distance better, that's going to make your skill set appear better, right? So we do have a piece in that puzzle to play. Also in like injury resilience and stuff like that, like 100%, like being well conditioned, all those things. But if my guy has a hard training session in the morning, I think this will wrap that up in an easy sentence. I think if my guy has a very hard session in the morning and they come in strength and conditioning at night and they tell me they had a hard session in the morning, man, strength and conditioning is this important. I'll say, hey, you know what? Let's just do some mobility. Maybe we do 1 or 2 sets of what we got to do. I'm not looking for maximal outputs here. We're not trying to break any records.
Yep.
And we'll get you out of here.
Yep.
That's the reality of it. Now, in camp, especially out of camp, that's some time where we can okay, it's not as important if we have to miss a session or if we have to push a little bit harder at times. That's, in my opinion, out of camp is the best time to build those things. We can push a little bit harder. If you're tired and you don't spar tomorrow, not the biggest deal in the world for me, right? It's okay. And I make sure that is clear to the athlete. I want them to know, hey, you know what? You're going to be sore tomorrow. You might be a little bit tired tomorrow. That's okay. Your sparring sessions are going to be number one priority inside the training camp, in my opinion, because that's when you get to work on timing, speed. That's when you get the best conditioning aspect of fighting. If you want to get better conditioned for fighting, then fucking fight at fight pace and you'll get conditioned to that. So, I put my ego to the side and I say, hey, I'll take a back seat to all of your skill training. That's not a problem with me, especially my guys who work year round with me, because I know they're strong. I know they're going to be in shape. I know they're going to be fast. I know if they're here with me year round, we are developing those qualities year round. So when we get into camp and you tell me you're tired, take the day off. I want you to feel fresh for the rest of the week. And that's putting my ego to the side. A lot of strength coaches, where they fall into this hole is they have a fucking big ego and they want to think they're more important than they really are. And in my opinion, you're doing the athlete a disservice. My number one job is to do no harm. All right. Just like they say in medicine, do no harm. That should be your first thing. If I'm putting my ego up front and I'm like, no, you got to do this session, I'm potentially doing the athlete a disservice and doing harm to the athlete for the rest of their camp. That's a problem. And that's kind of how I take my ideology going with this thing. I have no ego here. I just want what's best for the fighter. What makes me look good is when they perform at their best. So at the end of the day, it may seem like I'm doing myself a disservice by saying, oh, I'm going to take a backseat to these guys, but I'm not, because if they perform better, I look great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of funny how those things work, right? It's like when you give to people, you think I'm being nice, I'm giving, but at the end of the day, you're doing yourself like a little guy. It feels good to give to people, right? It's the same thing in this game.
Absolutely.
I believe.
So you were, and I think that this fits perfectly, you were one of the few coaches that was openly critical of Khamzat Chimaev's conditioning going into his Sean Strickland fight, most specifically with regards to his training with Sam Calavita, right? Is that the way we say Sam's last name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something that you're comfortable talking about? Because it's
100%.
I don't know Sam as a person at all, but we can all speak openly about methodology and principles. And I was pretty open too. in being critical of some of the things that I've said. I've always been happy to speak my mind and not be a dickhead. I don't care how people.
I mean, listen, there's some people that I would say, like, oh, I don't want to attack them. But to be honest, I've been talking about this guy and his training for years now. It just got more brought to light in recent times because of the notoriety of Khamzat and Arman and these guys. I do not think he has a good training system. I'm not going to speak on him as a person, but I will talk about what his training system is. It's like, it's a survival contest. It's a grind. Can you survive this? And if you can't, you're a pussy and you don't belong here. Now get out. If you break, you're a pussy. You don't belong here. Get out. It's like, bro, like everybody that walks in my doors, I just want to see them perform at their best. Some people have a higher potential than others. And, I'm not trying to break you. I'm not trying to, that's not my goal. My goal is to build you. You know, I just feel like you do more of a harm and a disservice to the fighters when you put your ego first because you want to be the guy. You want to be the guy that gets all the notoriety. You want to be all that thing. And now you're just breaking these guys down. And, I was a little bit vindicated when Khamzat performed like he did. And just for the record, I love Khamzat Chimaev as a fighter. I think he's a fucking 1 in a million talent.
Yeah.
The guy is amazing.
Yeah.
When I'm critical of what he was doing, I'm critical of what his coach was doing to him. And I said this before the fight, and I was vindicated after because I said, what he's doing is going to slow that man down, and it's going to take away one of his most important strengths, what is his speed and his power. If you watch him cover distance, it's amazing from a strength and conditioning perspective. When I watch what he does, he's so explosive. He's so fast. And whenever you fight at that pace, he fights like a bat out of hell. Whenever you fight at that pace, you're going to get tired. I don't believe he had like a major cardio issue. I believe he had a pacing issue and an efficiency issue. But when you fight like at the pace he does, it's going to fatigue you. It worked out for him so many times in his career because he gets guys out of there fast, right? They're not able to keep up with his pace, his speed, his strength. They can't because he was amazing in his skill set. So, I was very, very open when saying that Sam Calavita was going to ruin this guy. And I was vindicated. Like this guy gets all this praise from TJ Dillashaw. Man, TJ Dillashaw's career went down the drain when he went to Sam Calavita. He was a beast before Sam Calavita. Rampage talks about how he wouldn't be able to spar because he would do the training before. And Sam Calavita was cool with that. Bro, what are we talking about here? You're not going to spar because you did a session before and you're too tired. I'll just skip the sparring session. What are we doing here? You're in camp to fight, man. What are we talking about here? You're not in the camp you're not in a high rocks competition. We're not in a fucking CrossFit contest. We're in the fight business. These guys need to spar, especially when they're in camp, man. That's their number one source of conditioning. Not fucking how far can you ride on a bike and do this dumb shit that they're doing with fucking bands on the assault bike. As you see, I get a little fired up on this one because I really believe this Sam Calavita is the camp that people go to see their careers die in MMA at least. So that's my opinion, and I think I'm right, and I think most people in the industry. I've reached out to so many guys that I have respect for in this game. Guys much smarter than me. Okay, strength conditioning coaches much smarter than me with a deeper understanding, a deeper knowledge. They have more education. And I say, hey, am I being biased here? Because he is close to me. We're in the same county. Am I being blinded by, some other things? And they say, nah, like I don't understand it. I don't understand this. I don't know why people are doing it. And you have to sign NDAs. You can't talk about what they do. Listen, man, Cub Swanson came out and said, like, there's been multiple people that have come out now in support of what I was saying all along. And so I feel vindicated on that. But of course, I think some fighters just want to feel like maybe they get their confidence a little bit from that. Hey, I did these things. But Cub Swanson said it like this, and I think it was very well said. That's why I posted it. He said, I've been fighting for 12 weeks to survive this camp. By the time I got to fight day, I'm tired. I don't want to fight no more. He lost every fight that he was under Calavita. TJ Dillashaw got popped for EPO. TJ Dillashaw tore his shoulder at the same time Aaron Pico did in the same camp. They were fighting around the same time. Both of them get a shoulder surgery from a camp that they did with him. And he wasn't winning when he was with Calavita. That's the truth. So, I mean, you can say that the guy's the greatest in the world if you believe that, but I would say the results show different. And until you show me contrary, besides somebody's words talking about how fucking hard and grueling the session was, then I'll stand by what I say.
Brother, you're spot on. I was highly critical back in the day with Sam and TJ, watching TJ drop down to fight Cejudo at 125. Now, Henry Cejudo is not known as a knockout puncher, right?
Mm-mm.
Cejudo knocked out TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw walked through Cody Garbrandt's punches, right?
Who can crack?
Cody hits like a house at a higher
Mhm.
weight class. Dillashaw ate those and smiled. Cejudo knocked out TJ with a glancing blow off the top of his skull and also popped for EPO and
Wow.
also had, there's a lot of issues. And I remember watching this and being like, that is negligence inside that camp. What is happening? Why this one person? Clearly, he doesn't understand nutrition as much as. So you being a strength guy, me being a nutrition and a performance guy, I'm listening. I'm like, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. I looked at what they did to TJ. In my opinion, TJ got knocked out because he cut improperly and rehydrated improperly. Full stop. That's why Cejudo knocked out a guy like TJ. And then the SNC stuff is a whole nother conversation. Again,
listen, anybody who's trying to wear all the hats usually shouldn't be wearing any.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Agreed.
If you want to be the center of this guy's universe, he said, I'm going to do your nutrition. I'm going to do your weight cut. I'm going to do your fucking strength and conditioning. I'm going to do that. Listen, man, hold on. If you want to be the only chef in the fucking kitchen, you probably shouldn't even be in the kitchen. And that's how I feel. Like you want to attach yourself to this guy so you can take all the credit. And I think it's an ego thing. And I think he's doing it to make money. And I think that's a shit way to leech on these athletes who, you know, are trusting in you. And I don't care for it. I don't care how they try to get ahead of the narrative and try to attack my friend Mateo Capo. I don't like the way they did that, how they try to throw him under the bus when, you know, I know the numbers behind the scenes. Okay. I know those numbers. I was on the phone when with Mateo when they were calling him and telling him, hey, we want to bring you for the full-time nutrition because and I don't want to talk out of turn. I'm not going to say what was going on exactly, but it was around 7 weeks out. They called Mateo and they said, hey, you know what? We want you to actually provide the meals. We don't want the training lab's food. Okay, and I know the numbers that he was at then, and I know the numbers that he had to cut when he was in fight week, and it wasn't what they were saying. I believe Armand did some interview and said how much he had to cut that week. It wasn't that. Maybe when they were like 12 weeks out, it was that much. But listen, and then when TJ comes out and he starts trying to attack Mateo, I'm like, but everything you're saying is a lie, man. You're not being truthful here. And maybe he just got secondhand knowledge from what Sam was telling him. So maybe he didn't know any better. But it was a lie. I was there on every part of the process. He's a friend of mine. I talk to him all the time. He was asking me like, oh, you know, what do you think is a fair price? Like all these things that we were talking about. And so I know the exact dates. I know the exact numbers. I know the behind the scenes of these things. And when I see you attack my friend in the media after and try to put all the blame on him for a bad weight cut. Now, I will not say that Khamzat did not have a rough weight cut. I believe he did. But those numbers that they were saying were not anything astronomical. And it wasn't like, to be honest, too far out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
I just believe that when he took the fight, when he said yes to the fight, he was a little bit heavy. And that was around 12, 13 weeks out. He was potentially looking at a light heavyweight matchup. And, you know, still the numbers are not like nothing that doesn't happen. Like I have guys that, you know, I advise against, but they do cut 40 pounds in a camp. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that. It's not small guys, smaller guys. Okay. So yeah, I didn't like that part of it either. And that's why I was like, there was multiple things where I was like, you know, like I don't feel bad going after this guy and talking about some of these things. Although I don't want to put like too much information publicly just because I didn't get the okay from everybody and all these things. But I will say like, oh man, a lot of those things were not true and they know it's not true. But they just wanted to paint the narrative like it was somebody else's fault and they're the good guys. And if it was just up to them, they would have done it and handled it in flying colors. And couldn't be farther from the truth. I think actually, you know, the first time Khamzat did a camp with him was with DDP.
Okay.
It was about 5 weeks. 5 weeks, okay? It wasn't enough time to really destroy him. But you give the guy now 12 weeks to destroy somebody, and we can do a lot more damage there. You understand? Like, people think, oh, the longer camp you have, the more time you have to prepare, the better. Not if you're doing it the wrong way. You better be very smart. You better be very smart with what you're doing here because it's very easy to fucking overtrain somebody in 12 weeks. It's a lot harder in 5 weeks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that was my opinion on that because even when my guys now, you know, some of the higher ranked guys, you know, as they get higher ranked, they get more time. The planning has to be better. The The auto regulation has to be better. We have to be much more aware of what's going on in the camp. That's when it takes precision. That's when it takes like, oh, you know what? We're gonna take this day completely off. You're not gonna come to strength and conditioning today. You cancel my session. I'm cool. Let's go. You're gonna go home. Because with that many sessions in 12 weeks, 16, 15 weeks, man, you can just cook the guy. And a guy who not everybody is a volume Nate Diaz type of guy or Nick Diaz type of guy. Khamzat is not that, man. He's crazy explosive. He's a fucking F1 race car, bro. You cannot treat him like a Toyota Camry. You know what I mean? You cannot. It's not going to work. And some people have these systems that are just survival contests, and those who make it through may do well. But what about all the ones that fucking broke down on the side of the highway? Besides that, I don't think those get looked at enough. You know what I mean? When I feel what I do best is make every fighter reach their potential, make every athlete that comes to my doors reach their potential, even farther than what they thought they can get. So that's my 2 cents.
No, brother, you spot on, Chase, and I agree like wholeheartedly. Our job, your job, my job, every coach's job is to contribute what we can to make the athlete better come fight day within the realm of what everyone else is doing. And I always saw my position as a C-suite executive, and I would explain this to the athlete. I said, listen, back in the time, I'd say you're Bill Gates. Now it's you're Elon Musk. You are the COO. You are the owner. I'm just one of the best rocket ship builders in the world. And we have a team that are the best in the world in what they do. So we need to unilaterally discuss what the program is going to look like moving forward. We need very clear daily, weekly communication on what we're all doing to serve your vision of what this is going to be. And that comes the fight night performance. And I always try to work with that type of structure. I found it to be very hard at times because there's a lot of ego. We all have egos. And you had made the point. I always associated my ego with the success of the athlete. My athlete wins, we all win. I don't care how much or how little, how big fanfare or little. I work with athletes that nobody even knows I work with that as a part of the performance. They won. Great. For me, that's as good as anything else. I'd rather that than be like the head face on an athlete that underperforms. Even in a win, if they underperform, fuck, we fail the athlete. So having that type of the C-suite mentality, working with the athlete, little challenging, but some teams were awesome to work with. Now, we spoke about some of what the negative is. Who are some of the coaches out there? Because you mentioned there's some great coaches, some guy like you, some guys. I will always talk about other great coaches that I would hire to train me, that I would hire to work with my daughters. Like I love to big up other good names too, because shit, you can't work with everyone in the world. With me, I had 5, I call them 5 roster athletes. That's it. 5 fighters fighting 3 times a year. That's 15 fight weeks out of the year. And I would go and spend maybe 1 week with them in camp. That's 30 weeks out of the year. I'm away from my home, away from my family. That's a lot. And then I would do a little one-offs here and there relationally. So like a lot of the other folks in the nutrition side, I never over diluted my service. And maybe Sam's problem, I never over diluted my service. I never wanted to do the S&C or the other stuff. Like, oh, you got Lauren Landau. Awesome. You got, Jake Bonat. Awesome. Or Corey Peacock. Tony Reed. Awesome. Phil Duro. Awesome. High five. Fuck yeah. Big win. Right? Never wanted to over dilute. Never wanted to take more because that is all I thought about. To serve the athlete, right? Serve the athlete, make sure we're on point, the weight cut, what are the metrics, analyze the data, talk to the coaches. Done well, man. It's a big job, a lot bigger job than we ever get paid to do, to be managers listening. As an aside, managers get 20% to answer a phone call and get told A or B option, which one do you want? Because I know Sean, I know Mick, I know, right? A or B, who do you want? That's negotiation. Manager's like, yeah, 20%. Fuck that. And most of the time, the manager.
Good for them.
Good for them. I'm not mad. And there's some guys out there that get the athlete paid more for sure. But most of the time, the managers, you know that we're right. The managers, their job is not negotiating with the UFC. Their job is getting the fighter to accept what the UFC is offering. They're negotiating with their athlete more than they're negotiating with Dana and Mick and Sean and everybody else, or back in the Joe Silva days, who was a monster in a respect, right? So anyway, who do you see in the industry as like, man, they're awesome, he's awesome, she's awesome, maybe? What's a couple other names out there that you think are great, what they do?
I think you already named a couple of them that I still think are awesome. Like Peacock is awesome. Lauren Landau is awesome. They have a team of Justin Gaethje's team, which is related with that. They're also called the Training Lab. And I talk back and forth with the guys. I said, that's the real Training Lab.
You got trademark infringements.
Yeah, because they spell it different. But anyways, they're in Colorado. They worked with Justin, and we've seen how Justin was able to not only like perform and recover. Man, that's one of the biggest aspects of like a solid strength and conditioning program. His ability to endure and recover from fucking Ilya, the onslaught Ilya gave him early was unreal. And I think that won him the fight, in my opinion. So I think they do a great job there. There's a Buyout Performance, which is in Florida also. They do a great job. He works with a lot of the Kill Cliff guys and Corey Peacock and these guys. Everton Oliveira down in Florida also that works with ATT. I think he does a great job. He handles so many fighters, even F1 racers and stuff like that. He does a, no bullshit approach. I think he does a great job. Shit, I don't want to leave people out, but
there's a bunch. Yeah,
I
can't name them all for sure.
I mean, yeah, Ricci, those guys up there, they do a great job. I'm sure I'm leaving some guys out. Man, some of the guys that like, there's a guy named Nico Tokarayev who's in Florida. He's close with the Buyout Performance guy that I spoke of. I think he's like he does a great job. He works with a few fighters. He does a great job. Yeah, I'm definitely bound to leave some guys out, and I don't want to make anybody mad. Listen, I speak with a lot of the coaches. Mladen Jovanovic, who's a guy in Serbia that I just had a meeting with. Man, like, this guy's a PhD exercise science. Like, he does science. He's a scientist.
Yeah,
he's fucking so smart, so brilliant. He works with Rakic. He works so close with like their MMA program over there that they have in Serbia that they're trying to bring up on like skill learning and stuff. Man, I had a talk with him, just blew my mind. It's just like, I'm trying to be a sponge around him because so much smarter than I am, and the way he thinks about things is incredible. I think he's a force, and he's in Serbia. Like, they're developing a program there, and I think he is awesome. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to leave some names out, as I said. I don't mean any disrespect. You guys know if I DM you back and forth, then I believe you're doing a great job. And the DMs consist of like asking questions or just giving you a salute. I think you're doing a great job. If I don't think you're doing a great job, you'll probably know about it.
Like, you could be the next viral reel. What gym do you train your athletes out of? I was on your page earlier. I'm on your page a bunch. What gym is that? Where are you? I think, on screen. Let me see if it's
it's a gym called EBS Performance.
Okay.
We're in Costa Mesa, California. It's a private training facility. The owner is a guy who plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's an NFL player. And yeah, like I said, it's a private training facility, man. Honestly, the best facility I've ever been in. Like, when you go there, if you're a strength coach,
yeah,
it's like a playground, man. Like, we have so many fucking tools there that we can just use to fine tune athletes. It's just amazing. And that's one. As soon as I spent my first week in that place, I was like, this is home. This is home. I like the people there. You get to see some of the athletes there.
Yeah.
Those are all top tier athletes, by the way.
Bro, yeah, we're gonna talk about them in a minute. Your training style is reminiscent of, some will remember, the Marinoviches, right? So, I'm not going to say yours, but some of what I'm seeing right here, we've never trained together. And next time I'm out there in Cali, I'd love for you to beat the shit out of me, man. It'd be fucking an honor. Or like a Nick Curson, because Nick was in the game for a minute and then kind of like disappeared. I'm sure Nick is doing great somewhere else. I haven't followed Nick in a while. Give us, because I'm watching what you're doing. I'm like, well, that's different. Chase,
yeah,
different. You're operating at a different level, probably in the top 5%.
I like to think so. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
blowing smoke here.
Appreciate
Real
it.
talk, bro. No, this is
That means a
real.
lot.
In the top 5%, you're already operating inside that level. You're doing things most other strength coaches don't even know can be done. And then they wouldn't know how to implement them anyway. And they're like, yeah, no, just fucking deadlift, just clean. That's fine. You don't need all that fancy. No, they don't get it. They're completely excluded from the conversation. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe share a little bit of how your training style evolved. I know it's still evolving. You keep saying, I ask questions. Love that, bro. Where did it kind of come from? And maybe distill down some of the principles you're using now with your athletes.
Yeah. So early on in my coaching career, what I did was I sat down and I made a list of the guys who I think are at the top of the game. And I try to identify common traits that make them elite coaches. And that can be as far as coaching goes, or as far as the science based on what they're doing. So I like a lot of what Marinovic does, but I don't agree with everything that he says. So I will take bits and pieces from different coaches on what they have laid down over the years. I just did a post today about Louis Simmons. Louis Simmons is a powerlifting coach. He loves lifting weights. I wouldn't train a fighter that same way, but to ignore all the information that he left down for us would be negligent as a strength coach. He's probably the greatest strength coach in the history of America. You know what I mean? For sure, his gym was the best powerlifting gym in the world, and he still believed in speed training, dynamic effort days. They had a whole day in a powerlifting program where the goal was to just lift as much weight as possible, and they dedicated a whole entire day called dynamic effort, moving weight as fast as you can, moving your body as fast as you can, because they believed it got stronger, made you stronger.
Let
and
me
it did, obviously.
touch in. I box squat 840 doing West Side, right? So this is back in my mid-20s before I fully transitioned to MMA. I left wrestling, blew out my shoulder, college wrestler, couldn't go back, started a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and then I went all in on powerlifting, went West Side, did the whole fucking Louis, Dave Tate, Jim Wendler. I was in that zone because I couldn't compete. I needed to compete anyway.
Yeah.
Dude, I went from 181 kind of wrestling in that all the way up to 282 as a fat ass fucking powerlifter. But I box squatted 840 because of this speed work. I couldn't rep out more than 6 and change, right? So it wasn't the heavyweight. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, no.
Continue.
I mean, I think there's a lot of evidence nowadays that will point to the fact that speed is the rising tide that lifts all the other boats. If we're being honest, just because I get somebody stronger doesn't guarantee that they get faster. But if we get faster and we're able to move load faster, you will get stronger. You'll go back to your squat and be like, oh shit, this weight is moving easier. And, it could be a nervous system thing, right? Just more recruiting, the ability to recruit more high threshold motor units, because that max lifting, you're recruiting all those fucking motor units too. But yeah, so pretty much my training ideology is what also I identified the coaches. I also look at the traits that I think make a great fighter. What are those traits? If you look at does speed help? Absolutely. So why don't we train for speed? Does being strong help? Listen, if you're going to be facing an external resistance in another human, certainly strength will help. Does lateral movement help? Sure. Does more movement options when it comes to your upper body T-spine mobility, when it comes to throwing punches, is that going to help with your power? Absolutely. So, taking all those things into account is kind of, okay, what's the best way to get, reverse engineer, right? Those are all the traits that can make somebody better. Covering more distance, being more explosive, being able to move your T-spine, being able to move your hips more freely, having more movement options available, the speed at which you move, the speed at which you deliver a punch, the speed at which you deliver a takedown, the speed at which you can sprawl, the speed at which you can hip bump and sweep somebody. All those things are important. So how do we get to that? Well, we have to train those fucking qualities. So that's kind of how I developed my system. If you ask me, I think the Marinovics did a great job of all the plyometric stuff. And I think one of the things that often gets overlooked in their system is what they coach on contraction and relaxation, right? When you see the best athletes perform, you'll see how effortless and smooth it looks. And it's kind of crazy that I ended up in this profession, because I remember being a 7 and 8 year old kid and watching some kids that I played football with, where I'm just that guy moves different than everybody else. He's so effortless with it. It's because they know how to produce the force when they need to, and then they relax. That's why they look so fluid and so great when they run. You know, if we're timing people in 40-yard dash, 100 meter, and you tell them like, I just need you to try as hard as you can and just run fast as you can. Usually they don't run their fastest time. Usually they run their fastest time around that 90 to 95. You know what I mean? When they can release some of that tension and just run a little bit more relaxed, but they're still applying a shit ton of force to the floor. The same thing goes with your punches. If you just try to muscle all your punches every time, first off, it's going to make you super tired. And second off, man, you're by holding tension in your body, you're fighting yourself. So I try to like use that. I took that from the Marinoviches. They coach that a lot. A lot of the stuff they do is contract, relax. So I integrate that into my coaching. Plyometrics, man, I think they were some of the best to ever coach it. That's my opinion. Like Vergashansky obviously was the pioneer of it, but as you got down the road, they did excellent with that. The part that I think they left out, which is what I included from different systems, was you know, you still I believe you still have to be strong. Some people are just stronger naturally, and maybe you don't have to do as much of that stuff with those people. But I believe strength training in general, I believe it helps the body be more resilient and robust when it comes to injuries. And I think there's a lot of science to back that up. And I also believe that when you're stronger and you have to, like I said, about the external resistance in another human, man, it helps. It helps 100%. So I still do strength training. Now, people look at my system and what we do, and they'll be like, oh, but that's not traditional strength training. But for me, it is, because the principle and the concept still apply. When we say squat, bench, and deadlift, I'm still fucking squatting and hinging. It just may do it a little bit different or throughout different times of the year. That doesn't mean we don't deadlift and we don't squat back squats and stuff. We still do that stuff. But for me, as long as we're getting that squat motion, as long as we're getting that hinge motion, as long as we're getting our vertical press and pull, horizontal press and pull, as long as we're covering those bases, then for me, I'm still using those principles of strength training. Because in my opinion, strength training is a principle. It's not squat, bench, and deadlift. That's what I take from it.
Yeah.
Right. It's progressively overloading weight over time and loading certain movement patterns to target different parts of the body. I'm still using those fucking principles. I just might not apply it the same as everybody else does to make a generic home program that you can make a generic program that you can make at home. I'm still using the same exact principles. Are we working in low rep ranges? Yes. Trying to move as much weight as we possibly can? Yes. Are we progressing that over time? Yes. Okay, that's fucking strength training. I just make sure we incorporate some of those other things, you know, like plyos, like we do Olympic lift derivatives. Sometimes we'll do straight Olympic lifts. Like right now in our program is like hang pulls, hang high pulls. Yeah, it's a great movement. Why not? Do I only do Olympic lifts? Do I only do back squats? No. Like I think there's a bunch of ways that we can apply that. Like people will say that I always see people attack this on Instagram, and I never understood it. They get mad at the landmine punch. But in my mind, a landmine punch is a fucking push press. It's a push press with one hand and one, like you're using more one leg. It's like, we don't have to overcomplicate it and say, oh, but you're trying to mimic a punch. Not really. In my mind, it's a Olympic lift derivative. It's a push press. The same thing when you take the bar and you use your hips a little bit and you pop the shit over your head. It's the same. It's just slightly different. Just slightly different movement pattern. That's it. But in my mind, the adaptation is the same from a fucking push press. I'm not trying to mimic a punch. I'm not a big, like, you know, people see us doing medicine ball throws. I'm like, yeah, but will it help with punching power? Sure. But I also think football players should probably do medicine ball throws.
Yeah. The push press on a landmine, when you think about the biomechanics, and for those listening that might be beneficial, not a lot of people can press overhead properly anymore without excessive rib flare, lordosis, right? All of a sudden they're an extension. Their body has to modify just to get that arm up overhead. A lot of that is because they have scapular dysfunction, right? So there's a lot of shit going on that you can't fix in a 3, 6, 12-week training camp. Sometimes maybe never again, unless they're working at home 3 hours a day with PTs and doing all the, the hard, manual therapy, whatnot. But a landmine I use, because I got shoulder issues, right? So I will landmine press allows me to press and really start to train that anterior deltoid, push complex. Me going up overhead, I start to get some cervical spine flare-ups.
I was going to say the spine, even low back, like you're putting a ton of pressure on your low back. For guys with low back issue, you wrestle long enough, you're going to have some low back issue. That's just the reality of the sport.
Yeah.
And you're overhead with the weight. Sometimes you're like arching and then like you feel, oh, my back. Man, I can just do the landmine press and get the same fucking adaptation and I don't have to worry about those flare-ups.
And you can, like, I notice when I landmine press, I can better generate force from the floor in the landmine position as opposed to doing a momentum lift going straight up overhead, right? Because I'll throw my ass into it and I'll get the bar up, but fuck, I'm probably, not hitting 40 to 60% of that tension in that range because momentum is just going to move the bar for me, right?
100%.
With the landmine press, fuck, man. Like that's fire for me now, 50 years old. Fuck, man, I can press. I feel good. My shoulder feels good. Neck feels good. And
I can use it in a half kneeling position and make it more of like an upper body motion, or I can get the legs involved and do it in a stand. I have a lot of variance. The biggest thing for me, I think, in my ideology is like, I'm not trapped. I don't plant my flag anywhere.
Yes.
And because I think sometimes
I noticed that about all your stuff. I see it.
I don't plant my flag anywhere because then I don't want to be stuck to any one thing. It's like, man, in my opinion, I'm gonna stack as many fucking toolboxes as I can in my toolbox. That way, when there's an issue, I got the tool for that. If you plant your flag in the Marinovich camp, and then you're like, this is what we do, and I can only do it this way. It's like you're limiting yourself, and at the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to your athletes. If you plant your camp in a powerlifting, we just squat, bench, deadlifts, and get those numbers bigger, then you can only do that. That's your only fucking tool you have. Olympic lifting, same thing. It's like all those places are different camps, and I don't want to plant my flag in any one of those camps. I want to take what's useful for my athletes. That way, when something arises, I have a fucking tool that I can solve any problem with, and that's all I'm trying to do. As long as I understand the principles and concepts behind what I'm trying to do, I can accomplish that in any fucking way I would like to. And I think that's the art of coaching. I get a chance to be creative. That's the art. There's a science and an art of coaching. And I think you need to have both in order to be an elite coach. If you understand the principles and concepts of what the hell you're doing a certain training method for, then you can apply it in any fucking way you would like to. And that's what my system relies on, is principles and concepts. I can always fall back on principles and concepts. That's it. At the end of the day, that's what my system is.
Absolutely. And I want to now talk about Marvin Vettori.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been with him for how long?
Okay. I started working with Marvin in 2017. We had a great run and, things happened here. Marvin ended up going back he went to Vegas and then he went to Florida. And now he's back home for his for his next fight. And I'm excited to have him back because, of course, man, like when you're not here with me, I think things are going to be different. I was still part of Marvin's camp. We're friends, like me and Marvin are also friends. I would still, give input and output. But at the end of the day, he had other coaches with him. And I'm not trying to talk shit on those coaches. But of course, they're going to coach him in their style of coaching, which may not exactly be my style of coaching. They would take input from me and they would use it, but also I didn't want to overstep. So I would always, like we would talk about things and then I would be like, yeah, if that's how you want to do it, go for it. Like, I'm not going to make you coach something that you don't feel comfortable coaching, or you have to use my style with him. Since Marvin has left, the reality is I told him this straight to his face is he hasn't been the same. And it's not only me. I would love to say that, but I'm not being truthful. I think the team we have here, his boxing coach is fucking awesome. Julian Chua. He works with some of the high-level boxers at Brickhouse Boxing. I think he does an excellent job, And I don't want to take away from the other coaches at the other camps that he was at. It's not that I don't think that they're great coaches. It's just that some people are just not for everybody. You have to know what works best for you. And maybe, I don't know. There's so much that goes into it. Humans are complicated. And something was holding him back, and he went through some stuff in his personal life too. And yeah, I just don't believe that. I don't think it was beneficial for him, and that was one of the things that I told him in coming back. Marvin's hard work for me. You know what I mean? Like I have to work a lot for him. If I was just looking for an easy life, I'll be like, yeah, bro, everything's great. But I told him like straight up, I'm like, bro, just come back. And I think all of us were together in telling him that. And it wasn't because we talked to each other and said, let's get him back here. It was because, bro, what you're doing there is not working. You know, you've lost 4 fights in a row. Come back here. We all care about you and love you. Like, we all have like personal relationships with you. You know, it's not just like, you know, at some of these camps, and again, this is no disrespect to those camps. They have so many guys that they can't like form like a crazy relationship, or they can't like individualize anything to any one guy, or they can't do a lot of those things. And that's just the way it is. It's like, if you make it out of that, you make it out of that. It's not like individual development all the time, right? And some people need that. Some people feel better when they have that. And I think Marvin is one of those cases. I think, you know, he also, I told him this, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
Wow.
I told him this. I said, look, man, I think one of the most overlooked aspects when I look at like a lot of successful fighters is the people around them truly fucking caring about them. And I believe that's human nature. If you look at like Habib and his guys, they always have their team with them. When one guy's in camp, they're all in fucking camp. Khamzat is the same. Like, a lot of these guys are the same, you know, like they all have people around them that have been with them for a long time and that like care about them and believe in them. They've done studies on this, you know, like the study was actually, you wouldn't be allowed to do it now, but in the 50s or 60s, I believe, they tested a bunch of students in elementary school, and they fed the teacher the results. When the teacher got the results, they lied to the teachers, and they mixed them up, right? They lied to the teachers and said, oh, these students right here are special. They're gifted. Their test scores were crazy. And they said some of the kids that actually got good test scores, oh, but they didn't perform so well. Well, just the way the teacher interacted with those students changed how they performed throughout the year. The ones that believed that they were the gifted students, who were really not, didn't have good test scores, they started outperforming the ones who actually did get the fucking good test scores. If that ain't like example of like how powerful it is to have people around you that care about you and believe in you and believe in your skill set, then I don't know what it.
Yeah. Spot on, man. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's that belief more than anything else, right? Because who's to say you can't be a world champion? Like, we go through the list of the world champions, fuck, 85% of those you wouldn't point to and say, oh, that guy's destined. That guy, fuck no. We'll say like a Michael Jordan, a Tom Brady, right? Two of the GOATs in their respective fields. Both guys were pretty shit deep in the depth chart earlier in their career, had a few good coaches that believed in them, had a chip on their shoulder, had the inherent talent and discipline to cultivate that over time. And here they are. I know we're getting, you know, close to the end of the hour here. I wanted to talk about, get your opinion on this, I should say. There is the constant debate over data, over science, and we hear it all the time. Well, the science says, you know, full range partials is much more beneficial to hypertrophy than, you know, full repetition under, you know, maximal loads, whatever the thing might be, or data, you know, the overemphasis on data and written metrics as compared to the benefit of the experienced eye. In fact, I was on Rogan's show, you know, quite a while ago now, and that's when bro science was first becoming a word. And Joe and I were both like, I guess I'm a bro scientist then, by the classical definition.
Bodybuilding.com, Testosterone Nation forum days, bro.
You know, baby, let's go, right? TC Luma and the crew, right? So back in those days, and even now, there is, it's, I think Joe DeFranco uses a good term. He uses the term data or science informed. Like, we'll listen to the science, but most of the science, that's bullshit. That's a theory. You took 8 overweight college girls to prove what I'm supposed to be doing with elite 25-year-old male combat athletes. Like, and there's a lot of folks. Dr. Rhonda Patrick is guilty of this. And you know, Mike Israel, I could name the names of all the you know, Instagram scientists. These are folks that, and I'll go on my rant, these are folks that make their money getting clicks and monetizing views. They are not folks that make their money serving clients and changing lives. They're TV producers effectively. They're creating content. They're like Netflix, Dr. Rhonda, Mike Israel, and Gary Brecka, and so many of these other folks out there, maybe even a Sam Calavita, right? He's creating these clippy, sexy training images and these Paul Saladino, these controversial takes out there. But in the real world, none of that fucking bullshit works.
Right.
This stuff works. So how do you deal with the data? Do people are like, well, the science said, or Huberman's another content creator. He's not a guy who's, I don't know the dude. You think he's a nice guy? He's not working with real humans and changing lives. He's not in a clinical setting. He's reading scripts and teleprompters and just creating content that people will view for monetization. So you as a modern era strength coach in a world where all of your clients are inundated with thousands of top 3 tips that you should not be or you should be doing, how do you navigate that noise?
Well, I think speaking in absolutes is a problem. You know, like for me is, you know, a lot of the time it depends. It depends. You know, like I get in these Instagram battles with people about like aerobic conditioning. There's people online that don't train anybody and they'll say combat sports athletes, all you need to do is sprints. And I'm like, sprints are great, but that's not the full truth, man. Like like that's not, you're not being honest. You know, it's like, stop with that. Oh, but the science says for mitochondria this, mitochondria that. I'm like, dude, I know fuck. It's like, we're going to argue about this shit. I'm like, yeah, okay. Look, my argument to that is easy. It's like, what's the cost? At what cost? Because in my opinion, doing aerobic work, low intensity work is a great way to improve your foundation, and it costs almost nothing to your body. It costs no additional fatigue. But if I make you do sprints 4 or 5 times a week, bro, you're going to be fucking cooked. Like, it's just a reality, you know? So it's like, yeah, I love science. I think it's great, but also take it with a grain of salt and like know what actually works in this game. And to, you know, I think speaking in absolutes is a problem. You know, there's always needs to be context, and it always needs to be, it depends. You can't just say one thing works for everybody. Everybody is a little bit different. So, you know, your reaction to a certain training stimulus might be a little bit different than somebody else's reaction, or your natural physical qualities might be a little bit different than somebody else's natural physical qualities. If you're going to tell me like Troy Polamalu did great on the Marinovich system, but also he lifted weights and he was extremely strong already before the Marinovich system. So yeah, it fucking helped him. But if you're telling me this 14-year-old fucking string bean that I got in here shouldn't lift no fucking weights, I think I'm doing them a disservice. It's context dependent. And you know, listen, man, I love science. I think it's great, but you know, like you said, a lot of times you'll read the study and it's like, who did they fucking study? They're not studying like high level athletes. They're not studying a lot of the time it's untrained subject. It's like, dude, I can take somebody untrained and anything's going to fucking show an increase in everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you never done anything. So whatever you do, somebody asked me that question the other day in the jiu-jitsu class. He said, man, I haven't lifted weights in many years. I'm trying to get back into it. He's like, what should I do? I'm like, just start doing something. It's better than nothing. And you'll get some benefits in the short term. Just go fucking choose a squat pattern, choose a fucking whatever. It's going to work.
Yep.
You'll feel better in a month. I promise.
Yep.
Now, as you get to a high level, you have to like be more particular and you have to understand what's going on. But at the low level, an untrained subject is going to get benefits from anything that was doing nothing. Anything's going to work. It's like, yeah, man, listen, as much as I love AI, because it helps me sift through research, right? Like it helps me find research that I can then go into and read and like understand what's going on. You have these clients nowadays that just AI everything, right? They search everything on AI and then they think this is like the absolute truth. And it's like, fuck, like, so we're battling that now too. And it's not easy. It's kind of annoying, but I think at the point I'm at in my career now is, you get people that start putting their symptoms and shit on AI and then you got to deal with that. And it's like, oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, okay, well, do you feel pain when you do that? No. Do you feel pain later when you do that? No. Well, then what are we doing here? Why are we avoiding it? Just because the computer told you not to. Or I have people that will like message me AI written programs and they're getting better. I will say that. But at the end of the day, this is a reality that a lot of people on social media do not want to live with. And strength conditioning is like, I saw online programs, but at the end of the day, it's not better than being in person with me. And I know that. That's why it doesn't cost the same. You know what I mean? So just because you have a great program, even if AI wrote the perfect program, the human interaction and the implementation of the program when you're in person is going to be better, and it's going to be different, right? It's like not only of the coach's eye, but just the energy of the training session, just the like the you say like the vibe. It's different when you're in person. The things that you can see when you're in person, the adjustments you can make on the fly. You know, if somebody comes in and they just look tired, like movement screening. Like, dude, I don't do movement screens. I look at people when they're doing the warm up, and I can tell something's off, or I can tell what they need to do. Because I guess if there's one gift I had as a coach, I think it's that. Like being able to like distinguish right away, just watching somebody, this person is crazy elastic, or this person needs to they got some heavy ass feet. They need to work on these things. Or this person's hips are just fucking wrecked. They don't know how to move. Like people just want to negate a training program to just doing the training.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that. I think, online programs, for example, a lot of the coaches, oh, just sprint, jump, and lift weights, and you'll get better at your sport. I don't believe that. I believe learning how to move is a skill, and we can get better at those skills. And part of what coaches should do is teach you how to fucking do that. Maybe one day you'll get there if you just do it on your own. But isn't the job of like having somebody who's experienced to kind of teach you the right way real fast so you can just get over that learning curve a little bit, feel it out, and then learn it there? Like that takes away years of work. We can just handle in one session. That's the profession. That's what coaching is. That's how I kind of navigate that. Is like my value is not just writing a training program. My value is having an eye. It's being able to teach you the most efficient and best ways to move for your particular body build. And that's one of the things that I think if I, as I said, if I have one gift, is my kind of energy toward this game, because I'm passionate about it, and my ability to kind of see those things right off the bat. And AI or no other thing, I don't think we'll ever be able to develop that.
Yeah. About maybe 10 years or so ago, a coach, I forget who, it could have been Zach Evan Asher or someone else, one of the Zach's my age, but he's been in the game forever. He had said 20 years ago, our job was telling people what to do. Now our job is spent telling people what not to do.
That's true,
years.
Man.
Right.
Because everybody has knowledge now. This knowledge is so readily available. I mean, a guy who I like, Angus Bradley, he was just talking about the other day, is like, most people learn from Instagram. Everybody learns most of their information from Instagram now. And coaches don't want to fucking admit it.
Yeah.
But I learn from Instagram. I don't follow pages if I can't learn from it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah,
the reality is sometimes we do have to just fight. Like, you know how many people piss me off with this fucking carnivore diet shit?
Bro, me and you both.
You're in the nutrition game. It's worse. People don't come to me for nutrition advice, but people will sit there and tell me to their blue, oh, there's carnivore diet. I'm like, man, for a fighter, there couldn't be like a worse diet in my opinion. Like your carbohydrates they're going to be the most important thing when you're in camp. It's just the reality of it. And as much as I love Joe Rogan's podcast, I believe he's responsible for a lot of the carnivore diet craziness. Now, listen, man, if you're like a guy who sits in an office all day or something, I don't know, maybe you can argue for it, but I still believe there's benefits from fiber and all those things. And that's just my opinion. I think a well-balanced diet is the best way to go.
I had a bit of a debate with Sean Baker. You know Sean Baker, right?
Of course. Yes. He's a big dude who, yeah.
He's a carnivore guy. And I say, all right, Sean. All right. Well, explain this. What's wrong with a blueberry? One of the most studied food sources on the planet. Not a single negative study about blueberries. Power packed with antioxidants and polyphenols and high in fiber, very low sugar, like extremely low on the insulinogenic glycemic charts. Sean, what's wrong with the blueberry? And he goes, well, there's a small segment of the population that might have a tummy ache. I'm using the term tummy ache if they overeat blueberries every so often. I said, okay, well, people shit their pants on the carnivore diet.
It's like bad, bro, bad.
Like that's a part of it. I said, so explain to me why everyone who's carnivore can't also eat blueberries, unless it's just simply ideological, and you're trying to put people into a box. He got fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And all those people got mad at me, but that is so common sense.
he lost me when he said, I ate an apple and my back hurt.
Fucking liar.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna unfollow this guy. On the Joe Rogan podcast, he said that. I ate an apple and then my back hurt. So the apple caused my back to hurt. So I'm just gonna eat meat.
Not the 500+ pound T-bar deadlift and all the rowing he does. That didn't maybe tweak his back a little. The best of us get a little tweak doing something we're good at. That
was the apple's fault.
It was a fucking apple.
Yeah. So after that, I was just like, bro, like, I'm out.
Yeah, dude. So for everyone listening, now I want to briefly touch on AI, because AI is only as good as your prompt, right? And the average person right now, you are not good at prompting AI. AI is Wikipedia. AI aggregates all of the information on the internet, distills it down, and then tells you what it believes you want to hear or will make you happy.
There is a confirmation bias built into AI. If you're looking for certain answers, it wants to make you happy.
Yeah. Like, and we've tested that multiple times. Build me a weight cutting program as if you're Mike Dolce. And it'll come up with a program that's like, hey, it's 80% good. It's not the way I would do it. So you're missing out on the specificity, the personalization. And then like, oh, but I don't like oatmeal. Oh, that's not a problem. You can have like this instead. I really like pancakes. Yep, not a problem. We can all of a sudden, just me, like, oh, I don't like that. Can I have that? I think I had some more protein. Sure, Mike loves protein. Therefore, and then by the time we got to the end, like 5 prompts later, there's no way you're cutting weight. It's actually, it boosted them into like an 800 calorie daily surplus. You're not going to cut weight. You're eating fucking pancakes and processed food. So it's very easy to prompt yourself. Let me back up. AI will teach you no more than you most likely already know or can find on Google 20 years ago, bodybuilding.com. Hey, build me a deadlift program. Eddie Cohn's deadlift, linear periodization, block periodization, Excel spreadsheets. They've been out there for 20, 30 years, right? Old school Kirk Karowski or the Louis Simmons. There's a million different hybrid programs out there, but those are general templates. Working with a coach like Chase, that is going to get you from, middle of the pack, relatively fit, to elite. And then the time compression, I think you said that before, it is the time compression of results. That's really where you bring in an elite coach. If you're trying to go from middle of the pack to world class, do you have 10, 15, 20 years to try and fumble your way through it? Or you walk into, you walk into a gym with a guy like Chase standing there in front of you, who is going to probably in a month move you ahead over a year. That type of specificity is one of the big factors. Most people, they jump right over.
I mean, like let me give 2 contexts to explain that away. It's like, if I just started training jujitsu today with one of my friends and we're both white belts, we don't know shit. And we just started training, I'm sure eventually we can figure some shit out. Okay? But if I had a black belt world champion, they're sitting there teaching me things, don't you think I'm going to fucking learn jujitsu a little bit faster than just me and my fucking white belt friend that know nothing about jujitsu, know nothing about wrestling, know nothing? What's going to help, right? It's going to accelerate the learning curve. And that's the same thing a coach does. Like, man, I have kids and even adults walk into my gym. They don't know how to hinge. If I ask them to make a cut, they can't do it. They don't know how to jump. They don't know how to land from a jump. And you're telling me that all you need to do is just run, jump, sprint, lift weights, and you're going to get better. It's like, okay, but what if they're doing all this like shit? Maybe one day in 5 years, they can figure it out because they had to go through the injuries. Like, fuck, most of us had to figure out that CrossFit wasn't good for us because we tried it out and it fucking hurt us. Like, I'm guilty, like I tried out all this shit when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I power lifted. I did it all. I've tried every single fucking thing that was out there. When I was younger in this game, I tried it all out. Goda, I fucking tried this shit out. I've tried it all, bro. Like, yeah, fuck, I'm embarrassed to say,
Did you do functional patterns?
I never signed up for a course, but like certain movements that they would do, like, fuck, let's see how that goes. I wanted to feel it. I got to feel it for myself. I want to know, is there anything to it? Is there any substance to it? Is there anything I could take from it? So when I speak from these things, I speak from a level of experience and to accelerate the learning curve of the people that are in front of me. And that's kind of like what the coach's job is and at this point. And also dispelling a lot of this shit that they telling people not to do these things, not to do. And that's true, man. Zach Hebenish is great coach.
Yeah, I love Zach. All right, now we gotta close this up, but from your experience now being around the highest operators, what separates those who are chronically successful from those who are not? Like, do you see? I'm always looking for what I call evergreen principles, and in our system, if it only works in one instance, it does not work at all. We try and distill our stuff down into it must work at all times everywhere. Now, can you distill down any characteristics, any personality traits, any specific habits of those who consistently dominate? Not that they don't have setbacks. We all have setbacks,
Cool.
right? Fuck, everyone
Yeah.
gets punched in the nose. Yeah, fine. But for those listening, like, what characteristics have you noted of the most successful folks that you've been around?
That's a awesome question. And, I want to state this first. I think training athletes like this, I learn much more from them than they learn from me. Because when you see high performers and how their mind works when they do certain things, I think you can take so much from it. You know what I mean? And I think the mind is actually, if I had to say the one thing that I think separates, I think the mind and those who make the mind work for them, not against them. Because the mind is always going to try to find the easy route. It's always going to try to, doubts are going to sneak in and that, all those little things. And the best ones can fucking see that little bit of doubt and nip it in the bud and get it out of there. And I won't say like that. Hey, every fighter that before they walk in the octagon, they're always like nervous and scared, right? I think everybody is. Like, you're nervous. There's a fucking bunch of people watching you about to go fight another guy who's well trained, fucking dangerous person. But I just think like the mindset of these guys is really what allows them to get to the highest level. And being 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 absorbent of information and curiosity to like learn things. I think this is also a major indicator in any people's level of success. It's the mindset, right? Being determined, being competitive, wanting it at all costs, being absorbent, right? Like being able to absorb information, being able to take it in and use it. And we would like to identify all these physical traits because, that's what kind of what we do. But I just don't believe that that's the primary driver of success, because we've seen guys with, you talked about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not an athletic guy. His physical qualities aren't anything that jump off the charts. He's a big guy, has size, but it was his brain and his mindset. We can name a lot of instances. Jerry Rice, man. Jerry Rice, probably the greatest receiver ever.
Yep.
Was slow on today's standards.
Yep.
He probably would slide down and be undrafted, on today's standards. But because he was a perfectionist, because he paid attention to detail, because he was curious, I think curiosity also helps. Curiosity on how you're doing a setup, curiosity on how to do this technique, curiosity on how to improve your physical attributes, curiosity on what's going on when we're doing the cardio and why we're doing it. I think curiosity is a big driver in human success as well. So I it's hard to just name one, but if I had to, either mindset or curiosity, because curiosity is going to lead you to absorbing. So it kind of touches in the other aspect. I think those two things. And yeah, when it comes to the mindset, I think being almost like, and I hate to say this because there's people that are going to take this and run with it, but like, I think anybody who ever achieved great things at high levels of success were a little bit delusional in a way. When you tell somebody I'm going to be a world champion in the UFC, they're probably all going to say, fucking yeah, right. All the people you grew up with, you know what I mean? Your parents are like, dude, you shouldn't do that. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have a little bit of that delusion. And I think that's a powerful driver in success. I think that kind of ties into the mindset aspect. But I think both of those things kind of tie into the mindset aspect. So you would expect the strength coach to say like, oh, this guy's so fast and explosive or this and that. But I think even with the potential, we've seen so many guys that have all the fucking power and athleticism and they don't pan out because the mind wasn't there, the work ethic wasn't there, those things weren't there. The understanding of their body, the curiosity, what didn't mean a lot to them. They're kind of like indifferent about it. I don't think those guys end up panning out in the end. So, I mean, I know that was a long-winded answer but man, that's a loaded question, bro. That's a complex question, like
Yeah.
identifying when that determines success. I think mindset and curiosity and willingness to learn, I think are the biggest drivers of success. I think when it comes to myself, and I'm not even calling myself successful, what I'm saying is I'm fucking curious about a lot of different things. I want to know. It helps me learn. Like I learn much faster than a lot of people when it comes to like training and jujitsu or whatever it may be. I train a lot less than a lot of people, but I'm able to learn a lot more because I'm so fucking curious about it. And I go home and I think about it. It's not like training just ends at the gym for me. It's like, no, man, I'm thinking about this shit all day. I fucking love this. I just ended up in this profession and I'm so lucky and grateful to be here because I'm passionate about it. I fucking love it. Like if you can't tell, you know, I don't know. I think about this shit all day. I lay in bed and I'm thinking about training. I lay in bed and I'm thinking about techniques. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu also. I'm thinking about training. Like I just think about this game a lot. And the day I stop thinking about it and I stop learning in this game is the day that I probably should retire. I believe that. I believe once I'm not as nervous and as excited as I am when my fighters go walk into that cage, and as excited as I am when they win, and as like hurt by it when they lose, and as nervous about it when they walk out there, is the day that I should probably stop training them because I'm not going to be the same guy for them. And I think if there's one thing that helps make a great coach, I think caring, and curiosity, caring, and mindset, man. Like for me, those are the fucking, I didn't graduate high school, brother. I was a fucking troubled kid. I was written off many times in my life. The principals of the school told me I wouldn't be shit. And not to say I'm a big shot now, but like, fuck, I've got to the pinnacle of one thing.
Huh.
So I think I've done all right.
Well, yeah, brother.
Man.
Chase, man, I love it. We could go on, and let's definitely, if you don't mind, after these shows, our audience sends a bunch of questions. So everyone listening right now, whatever questions you have for Chase, please send them to Coach Mike at thedolcediet.com. And then if you're open to it, I'd love to get you back on in a few weeks or so, especially when you have something coming up or another one of your fighters coming on. Hey, that'd be fun too. But whenever, get back on and answer some of these questions. We'll do like a Q&A show, which is always a good time. Maybe even get some call-in traffic.
Some lives, man. Something like that. I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure out technology. I'm like a fucking caveman over here, bro. I'm
Instagram Live, bro. Instagram Live will hold it for.
There you go. It's true. We can do that. Well, Chase, brother, I appreciate you. Now, everyone, you go to Instagram, Chase Your Dreams 247, Chase Your Dreams 24/7 on Instagram. One of my favorite follows. Absolutely follow Chase. He tells it exactly like it is. Feel free to send him DMs if you have any questions. Click on the link. Check out his website. You need a program, man. Check out all the stuff Chase has going on. You're talking about one of the top strength coaches in the game right here, and we really appreciate you being here. Anything else that you want to share with the audience? Places to find you, things coming up?
Yeah, two things. I just want to say, Mike, I'm truly grateful for you reaching out and your time and having me on here. And number two is, when I was young in this game, I would send messages to coaches and people that I would have liked to spoke with, and some of them answered, and that meant a lot to me. So my DMs are open. If you guys ever have questions or things that you want to see from me or that you would like my answer on, it also gives me like content ideas that I can put out there. So I appreciate all the questions, and I always want to be accessible. Like I don't ever want to be one of those guys that's like forgets his roots and forgets where he comes from. Some people took time and responded to me back in the day, and it fucking helped me get where I'm at now, and I'll never forget that. And if I can be that for the next generation, or just maybe you even have questions about other things, man. I have a lot of life experience and have dealt with a lot of different things, and I just want people to know that there are people that care about you out there, and there are people that will answer your questions and take time to respond to you, and I want to be one of those people. So thank you, guys.
Brother, that is awesome, Chase. All right, my man. Thank you. And remember, don't count calories, make calories. Count. Boom.
Pussycat.